One of the prevailing teachings in the Christian faith is that when you give your life to Jesus, He sets you free from your sin. You're no longer enslaved, you're no longer bound to that sin. But when it comes to actually applying it to your life, it's very difficult. I look at my life and I'm like, I'm struggling to let go of this sin. How do I do that? And there's a song I love by Hillsong, and they say that who the sun sets free is free indeed. And I love that so much because it just reminds me again that who the sun sets free is free indeed. But how exactly does that work? Because as humans, we do struggle with that. We see these teachings and it's saying that if you give your life to Jesus and you truly delight in Him, you will be set free from your sin. And you hear people giving testimonies like that and you're like, why doesn't that really happen for me, right? Especially if you grew up in a lukewarm Christian household and you went and actually found God for yourself. It's like you were never really like that degenerate to be like, oh, I was doing drugs and everything, then I had this radical experience with God and then I completely gave up everything. You didn't have that. You kind of just had I want a closer relationship with God now. But now letting go of the sin is difficult. Now, the prevailing concept behind that is that Jesus tells you the truth. Like, God just reveals to you the truth. And Satan obviously is the father of lies, so he spreads out lies, and that's what keeps us bound to that sin, right? That's the main concept of it. So I'll go into like certain addictions that people have. So let's say like porn or binge eating. I know I struggled with binge eating like 3 years ago. Satan tricks you into thinking that the sin is actually enjoyable. And to pair this with a lot of other psychological studies, right? You'll read like a lot of books like such as like psychocybernetics, or there are just many books like that where they speak about the psychology behind beating addictions or identity change, right? And again, the concept behind that is that you need to see yourself as a different person, right? You need to stop believing these lies that your brain is telling you, right? And in the moment when you're struggling with a sin, right, you go and you indulge in it because Satan tells you that you actually enjoy it. But when you look back at it, right, you're like, I don't enjoy this, right? I don't enjoy how I feel after I do it. I don't enjoy how I feel while I'm doing it. And even before I go and do it, I know it's bad for me and I don't want to go back, but I just feel like I can't control myself. But you can. Like, you can literally just choose to be like, no. And for me, something that really put this into perspective, I was just thinking about this a couple of days ago, was that something like alcohol, right? Last year I tried alcohol and I was like, it's just not for me, right? I don't like the way it tastes. And then I've also learned that it's poisonous. Like, your body just is not meant to consume alcohol. I just don't like it. So I was like, why would I just burden myself with this addiction? I was like, I just don't drink alcohol. Like, I was just like, no, let's cut it off right now. I don't like it. It's not good for me anyway, so why would I want to make myself like it, right? Or smoking, for example. I would never smoke. Like, even the thought of it, like, I don't think I could even inhale it in my lungs. Like, I just wouldn't do that, right? But there are other people who really struggle with that. Or let's say people who used to be in the New Age belief before they got into Christianity, right? I don't know what I was listening to, but I heard them saying that, like, if it caused... Oh, I was watching a Mike Winger video and he was speaking about Halloween and, whether it's biblical or not, to celebrate it. But he was speaking about just a portion where he made a comment. He was like, if I have a friend who used to be in the New Age stuff and this kind of thing might cause them to stumble, and he was referencing, I think, Timothy, the letter, or the book Timothy. That's a letter, sorry. The letter Timothy was written by Paul, right? About not causing a brother to stumble. In my head, I was like, oh yeah, actually, there are some people who are really stuck in those New Age practices, and they might be led to stumble now. And in my head, I'm like, I could never see that. For me, I think it's stupid. I scoff at it, and I'm like, it doesn't... Like, I look at it, and I'm just like, it's weird, and I move on. And I was like, what if I take that mentality and I look at it with the sins I struggle with, right? Because all of a sudden, the perspective is shifted. Because Satan lies to you. He lies to you. He tells you enjoy it, but you don't enjoy it. There's no part of it that you enjoy, right? And there's this book. It's called like Easy Peasy Method, and it's about like quitting like porn addiction, right? And he was basically saying that, like, you don't enjoy it, and it makes you feel like, oh, you just need to get this release so that you can be good again. But what it does is it traps you. It literally traps you, because now it's like you can't feel normal again until you do it, right? And that's just the lie from the devil, and that goes for many sins. Now, I've spoken about those sins, but there are other sins also we really struggle with as Christians, and it's like pride and gossip, right? Gossip, for example, again, Satan tricks you into believing you enjoy it, and you might think to yourself, when I do speak, when you're in a group with like your friends or whatever, and you're actually speaking about something that's been on your mind or whatever it is about other people, like you're like, oh, this is actually fun. Like I enjoy speaking about this. But when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, you don't, because what gossip like leads you to feeling, it leaves you feeling paranoid, right? Because first of all, if you're speaking about other people, now all of a sudden you're imagining, what if other people are speaking about me? Or I don't want to do this because what if people are speaking about me behind my back? Like it causes you to start having these thoughts about how society works in general, and in the grand scheme of things, it's bad for you, right? Never mind what the Bible says about gossip and sowing discord amongst brothers and sisters. Just in that case, like Satan is tricking you into thinking you're enjoying it, but you're not, right? In the grand scheme of things, you're not. Let's look at pride, right? Pride is another one. We think that like, oh, if I prove to myself that I'm better than this person, or I'm more popular than this person, or I'm more beautiful than this person, whatever it is, I'm gonna get these feelings of dopamine, and I actually enjoy that, right? Like I like feeling seen, right? You think you enjoy that, but then the downside of it, right? The flip side of it is that you feel insecure, because pride leads to all these insecurities. Because yes, okay, it feels good when you're comparing yourself to this person and that person and that person. You're like, oh, I'm doing better than them, but there's always going to be someone that's better than you at something, right? And every day you're going through life, you're comparing yourself to other people, and you're like, oh, that person's a little bit, they're a bit better looking than me, that person's taller than me, or this person's better than me at this, whatever it is. And now all of a sudden you've got these insecurities. But when you're indulging in the pride, you're not realizing the flip side of it, right? You're not realizing that you actually don't really enjoy pride. Like, think about it. Think about the concept of it, right? You are comparing yourself to other people, looking for reasons to be like, I'm better than this person, so you can feel good about yourself, right? Again, it's going back to the porn addiction thing from the Easy Peasy Method book, right? Where it's like, you need to achieve something just to feel normal again, right? Like you need to feel like you're better than somebody else just so you can feel normal and good about yourself again. And I think this is where, again, the gospel comes in with the truth, right? The whole concept of crucifying the old self, right? Or taking up your cross, right? It's taking that old self, right? That self that has been told you're valuable because you're more handsome than this person, or because you make this amount of money, or because you're good at this, or because people like you, whatever it is. Taking that self, putting them up on a cross and crucifying them, and putting forth the new self, right? The true self that is made in God's image. You're valuable because you're made in God's image. And that's the truth that Jesus is pushing forward, right? That you don't need any of this. You don't need pride. You don't need to compare yourself to someone else to feel like you're better than them just so you can feel valuable, because you're already valuable. So just skip that entire, all that shenanigans, right? And that just goes for like all sins, right? Satan is the father of lies. He comes in and he tells you, oh no, you enjoy it, like you really enjoy it, right? Think about what happened in the Garden of Eden, right? He comes to Eve and he's like, did God really say you should eat the fruit? And she's like, yeah, he did say that, right? And he said, if you eat of this, you'll surely die. And then Satan is like, no, you won't die. I say it as if it's like some. This is the thing we have about Satan. We got a picture of it as like this, this crimson red skinned like devil with like these horns and stuff, and he's coming with a sly voice like, listen to me. Like, he's not like that. He comes dressed as like everything you've ever wanted. Like, but anyways, that was just a side tangent. But he goes to Eve and he's like, no, God doesn't want you to eat of this fruit because he knows that if you eat of it, you will become like him. He's like, you won't die. Like, you're not gonna die if you eat this fruit. God just doesn't want you to be like him, right? And there's a lie. There's a lie. Because what Satan left out is the part that when we make ourselves our own gods, to put it in Matt Chandler's words, we make crummy gods, right? Like we can't compare to God, right? And that's the part Satan just left out, right? And he was like, okay, I guess I'll eat it, right? But Satan leaves out these things, like he tells you these lies. And we did die. We died like, what is it? A spiritual death when we ate that fruit, right? Because all of a sudden now we're separate from God. And these are the things Satan just leaves out, and he tells you these lies. That like you're gonna enjoy doing this. And I think that's just something we need to get out of, right? Just take that mindset of like, I don't need to be enslaved to this, right? This is the truth. The truth is, this sin is not gonna lead me anywhere. And I think another thing is that we need to enjoy, like, find joy in God's law, right? That was something David did. David would lie awake. You can imagine him lying awake at like 2 a.m. busy rejoicing and just, how awesome God's law is, right? And that's something, another lie Satan tells us, right? He tells us that, oh, God is just, he's just this tyrant who just doesn't want you to have fun, right? But it's like, no, there's a reason he's protecting you from all these things, because they lead to pain and hurt, right? When he's saying do not covet, right? Do not like look at your neighbor and be like, oh, I want those things, right? What's the reason behind that? When you covet, I mean, first of all, it's an accusation against God. You're saying that, like, if I was you, I would have given that to me, and that's a better thing to do. Basically saying you know more than God, right? But other than that, when you're coveting someone, again, you're doing that thing of like, I need to have that to be valuable, and again, that leads to insecurities. But I think also just rejoicing in God's law, because we believe all these sins and stuff is what's going to give us joy. But as we find, just going through life, like Jesus said, if you drink of the water of this world, you'll be thirsty again, right? If you keep going to these sins, you're going to keep on needing more and more, right? You're going to keep on needing more and more. But if you drink of my water, as Jesus said, you will never thirst again. I think that's a parallel we need to draw to God's law, right? If we delight in God's law and we follow that, right, we see, the joy behind it. We will truly get, joy that you can't get from all these other things that we're chasing, from the sin and stuff. But yeah, I think I've explained the concept well enough. You guys let me know what you think of it in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe to join the community. And until next time, I'll see you guys.